Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth. And actually, I can see that I've sort of moved my image around accidentally. Let me just sort of fix that. There we go. Not sure if I really fixed it, but we'll carry on. Now, today's puzzle, being a Saturday morning, is going to be slightly harder than our normal type of puzzles. Now, I'm going to say slightly harder, very dependent on whether you've seen this trick before or not. So if you get stuck, what I'm going to do is essentially walk through the rules, then essentially almost like pause, explain this particular geometry trick, then pause again, then start the solution. And I think if you do get stuck, just watch that bit, then try and solve it, and I imagine you'll be able to get through it. Now, the name of the puzzle is Ratio Ring. Now, I didn't actually know what a ratio ring was, but when I looked it up, it actually is something that exists. There's essentially like a bike gears manufacturer that's created something like that that helps for a smoother change of gears on bicycles. Never heard of it before until I came across this particular puzzle. And you can see here, Sleuth is trying to look at a fairly complicated machine here with tons of gears. And he seems to be smiling. I don't know why I'd be smiling in such a circumstance. I'd be puzzled, I imagine. As you may be once I put up the puzzle for today's feature. And it's Ratio Ring by Willpower. So you can essentially see kind of a gear of some sort here in the middle, made up of Kropke dots, and kind of almost like think of it as more gears around the outside. That's kind of why I sort of got this picture in mind. But never mind all of that. Let's take a look at the rules. So we've got the following. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means the digits 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and every 3 by 3 box. Fairly standard. Now we also have numbers in cages summed to the number in the top left corner of the cage. So if we take, for example, this cage here, you can see it outlined by this dashed line. These 4 cells must sum up to 19. And these 4 cells sum up to 20, 14, etc. It doesn't say that numbers in cages do not repeat, but given the 4 cages we have on the grid are all in the same box, they do not repeat, obviously. Now, numbers with a black dot between them are in a ratio of 2 to 1. And we've got like an incredibly large number of them here. So we've got, for example, if this is a 2, that means this is either going to be a 1 or a 4 to be in a 2 to 1 ratio, as with this digit as well. Now, you may be familiar with Kropke dot rules, but today's Kropke dot, the white dot at least, is very different. Numbers with a white dot between them, you can see a mini 2 here, have a difference of 2, not 1, because normally I would say if I put a 2 in here, this is 1 or 3, but actually if I put a 2 in here, there has to be a difference of 2, so it's 4, or obviously the other digit that's not valid today, 0, to be 2 away. Clearly not a 0, it's 2 and 4. So just bear in mind when you're solving this that this is a difference of 2, not the normal ones. Not all possible dots are given, so no negative constraints applies here. Now, numbers on the arrows sum to the numbers in the arrow circle. We've got only 2 of them here today. So these 2 that are digits on the arrow sum to a digit which is contained in the circle, and the same here. So for example, if this is 1 and 2, this would be an awful example. This would have to be a 3, and somehow 6 plus this digit will get us to 20. So terrible example, but hopefully that explains the arrow set. Well, that's all the rules we have. Now, normally I would say if you want to give this a go, if you feel up to the challenge of ratios and rings, link will be in the description down below. But I'm not going to restart the clock. So if you want to give this a go without actually taking a look at the next bit of clue, then just skip now, start playing. Now, for those of you that are continuing though, I want to explain to you something called the Fistemefel ring. And I'm actually going to prove this to you, this geometry trick, then we'll restart the clock and see how I get on. Now, if you ever come across a puzzle where you see very obvious outlines of these quads of digits in the corners, it is almost certainly leading you down a Fistemafel ring. And that's why I wouldn't necessarily classify this as an easy or approachable puzzle, because it's more of an advanced technique. And generally, a lot of the geometry techniques, they're really not that obvious. But let me show you what it is. In any Sudoku puzzle, absolutely any, the following sets of digits, which I'll highlight in blue, and the following sets of digits, which I'll highlight in red, are identical. And I don't mean identical in that they sum to the same thing. I mean identical in that if there is two ones in here, there will be two ones in these four cages. So it is an absolutely equivalent set. And if you've never seen this before, it's just absolutely magical. And it's named after a phenomenal constructor called Fistemafel, where he introduced this technique, and Cracking the Cryptic actually solved it. I think it was Simon, without ever seeing this before, but it's an absolutely phenomenal introduction if you've never seen it. So let me go ahead and try and prove it. And what I'm going to do is just restart this to just clear everything. And what I'm going to start talking about is set theory. So if you think about the rules of Sudoku for a second, the following cells, which I'm going to color in blue, are the digits 1 to 9. But the following ones are also the digits 1 to 9. So now we've got a bag, a set bag of the digits 1 to 9 twice. I'm going to keep going for a second and do now this row. And although this row is the digits 1 to 9, you can see I've sort of duplicated, I should say I've missed out on the following cell. So essentially I'd need a second copy of this cell, whatever this cell's content is, to be able to say I now have 3. So maybe what I'm going to do is just try a different shade of blue. Sets of the digits 1 to 9 by essentially coloring all of these. And lastly, I'm going to do this one more time. This would basically be 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9, continuing with the assumption that I am duplicating these 4 cells. Hopefully that's all fairly obvious. This is just standard Sudoku. Now let's think about the boxes. Box 1, box 3, plus this cell obviously, box 7, and box 9. Now obviously by the definition of Sudoku, every one of these boxes is the digits 1 to 9. And what I've just highlighted is another 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So I'm going to highlight these in red for a second. Now, at this point, what I'm going to assert is kind of the blue cells, the dark blue cells, the light blue cells, and with the assumption that we're duplicating these 4 cells, are essentially exactly the same as the red digits. Hopefully that's fairly agreeable at this point. They are the same sets, assuming that we're duplicating these in the blue set. What this will then allow me to do is to start saying, well, if a cell exists in both blue and red, I can just remove them, because I now have 2 bags. One is red, one is of 2 different colors of blue, including this duplicated cells, which are both a dark blue one and a light blue one. And those 2 bags are absolutely equivalent. But what I can do is start to manipulate these and say, well, these 2 cells, which are both I have in the dark blue one and the red, I can just remove them because they're exactly the same. I can remove these 2, these 2. You can see I can actually remove a huge number of cells that are essentially exactly the same. Now, for me to get to that Fistemafel ring that I showed you earlier, what I can do is essentially just do the following. If I remove a red cell, I have to also remove one of the blues, but only one, not both. So I still have my dark blue one in there. And I can do the same here. I remove one from the red, one from the light blue, one from the red, one from the light blue, and so on and so forth. And now I've ended up with the exact same set of digits in both bags, where the red bag has the same set of digits as the light blue and dark blue. Now, with that piece of information, I think this is now pretty much approachable for anyone that regularly watches this channel. So what I'm going to do is restart the clock and see how I get on at this stage. There we go. So whenever I've said this a few times, whenever I see a run of 3 black crop key dots, I immediately know this is from the sets of 1, 2, 4, and 8. Although obviously the one in the middle can only be 2 or 4. And I've gone through this before, but essentially if you think about black crop key dot digits, they're either from the set of 1, 2, 4, and 8, or they are from 3 or 6. And remember, there's another set, which is 5, 7, and 9, which can never be on a black crop key dot, because if you try, it will either be a 10 for a 5 or a 2.5, neither of which is allowed. Same for the 7 and 9, it's either a half or a digit that's over 10. So on a run of 3, it can never be 3, 6, because you'll just end up having to duplicate either the 6 or the 3. So I know that this is from 1, 2, 4, and 8, same for here. And I also know that to join these, I could have a 1 at the end or an 8. There will always be a 2 or a 4 in the middle to join it to the next digit. Which also means, now that I've placed 3 of these from this set, this can only be 3, 6, and this can only be 3, 6. And take a look at now these rows. These can only be from 1, 2, 4, and 8s, and in fact we now have a full set of 1, 2, 4, and 8s, because I've already placed a 3, 6 in the row, meaning if any of these are 3, 6s, I would have 3 of them in the row breaking the puzzle. So that's basically the complete Fistemefel ring. Now, what I don't know yet, although I know how to sort of probably do this next, is whether this is like skewed towards high digits or low digits. Because what I can do, for example, is make it 1, 2, and 4 to, and I'm deliberately showing you how this could be done. 1, 2, 4, that's a bad example. What would be a better one? Let's go 2, 4, 8, 1, 4, and 8. So essentially this is something where I've skewed it towards the lowest possible set of digits that I can have. Excuse me. What I also could do is skew it towards larger set of digits. And what I'm going to try and do is determine which is it. Is it sort of favoring larger digits in here, as in 4, 8, and 2, 4? Or is it favoring 1, 2, and 2, 4? Or is it actually a combination of both, 1, 2, and 4, 8? That's really sort of the mix of options that we have ahead of us. But what I'm going to do is essentially just remove all of these digits that I place as an example. Excuse me, I'm just going to need to pause the video for a second, clear my nose, and I'll be right with you. All right, I'm back. Right, let's carry on. So what I can say is, because these digits are the equivalent of what's in the cage, they absolutely have to add up to the same total. So this 20 and 10 is 30, and the 14 is 44, and the 19 is 54, and 9, 63. So this circle has to add up to 63. And the thing is, I know the vast majority of the digits. I know I have here a run of 1, 2, 4, and 8. I have another run here of 1, 2, 4, and 8. That's 9 and 6, 15 twice, that's 30. So that's essentially the contents of these two cages gone. And then I need 33 from these 9s, which is 18. So I need another 12. 18, no, 33 minus 18. Excuse me, I need another 15. So I know that these two digits must add up to 15. And I think the only way I can get to that would be 1, 2, which is a 3, 4, 8, which is a 12, and that will make 15. And if I try any other combination, I'm not going to get to 15. Fairly sure that's an accurate statement. Because the options were 1, 2, 4, 8, that's one set, which is 15. There was another set which would have been 1, 2, 2, 4. I'm going to try and show the 2 with a duplicate here. So that's 9. And then there was another option which was 2, 4, another 4, and an 8. And that would be 16 and 2, that would be 18. So from the 3 options that we had earlier, this is the only valid one. So what can I now say? I essentially have 3 sets of 1, 2, 4, and 8, and 2 sets of 3 6s to make up the contents of all of these cages. The 10 is fairly easy. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's clearly a minimum of 3. That's not 1 or 2. I need to have the 1 on here, so that's not 1. I clearly can't have the 4 on here, so this is either a 1, 2 to get 3 or 1, 3 to get to 4. And this cannot be a 3 because it's either 1, 2 to get to 3 or 1, 3 to get to 4. So that's one set. 20. I guess if you start essentially with the smallest cage and the highest cages, they're going to be the most obvious. Now, I think I have to use an 8 because the highest digits I've got without the 8 would be 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 4, and 6, which is only 15. So I've definitely got an 8 in here. Now I need a 12. And again, if I don't use the 6, 2, 3, and 4 would be the next set, which is only 9. So I need a 6. So I'm now at 14. And I need a 6, which is either 1, 5, can't do that, or 2, 4. That's not 2 or 4. There has to be a 2 in here. This is either a 2, 4 to add up to 6, or 2, 6 to add up to an 8. There is no 2 in here. And again, no 6 in there. Because it's either 2, 4 to add up to 6, or 2, 6 to add up to 8. This couldn't have been a 6. Right, so at this point, I don't really want to sort of keep doing this, but I will. I had 3 sets of the digits 1, 2, 4, and 8. And I had 2 sets of the digits 3 and 6. I've used one of the 3s. I've used one of the 1s. 2 of the 2s. 2 of the 4s. 1 of the 8s, and 1 of the 6s. So these are the remaining digits that I have available to me to complete these cages. Right. I have still 2 8s and a 6. So there's definitely an 8 in here and an 8 in there, given I have 3 8s. And I said I have a 6 remaining. Clearly, I can't put the 6 in here. If that's an 8 and a 6, that's already at 14, meaning it needs 2 zeros. So there's a 6 in there. 8 and 6 is already at 14. I need to get to 5, which I can do with 1, 4, or 2, 3. What about in here? So I've got an 8. So let me remove the 8s, the 6. I've got 2 1s, actually. So there's definitely a 1 in both of these. If there's a 1 in here, I need a 4 to get to the 5. So that's the 1, the 4, and and I've already placed the second one. This is 2 and 3. So that's 9 plus 5, yeah, to get to 14. This is my digits. So 1, 4, 6, and 8. It removes pretty much everything, 1, 4, and 8, except the 2. So that's 2, that's 4, that's 8. Got our first digits in under 10 minutes. 2, and this is because there's a full set of 1, 2, 4, and 8. I couldn't put this as a 4 because it would just say these are essentially 1 and 8 joined. So this can only be 1. This is now a 4-8 set. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 8, so that's not 1, 2, or 8. This is a 4. This has to be same sort of setup here, 4 with the 8. And then 1 and 2. Thankfully, we've got this one here to disambiguate 1 and 2. The 4 here goes to a 2, goes to a 1, and that's my third 1, 2, 4, 8 set. I've got very helpful digits here to basically eliminate the 3. So that's a 6, that's a 3. I've got a 6 in here again, so that's a 3. I say a 6 again. I didn't have a 6 in there. That's a 3. That's a 6. I've got an 8 looking at this. I was thinking, why do I not know all of it? And that's just because I am blind. There we go. That's our Fistenfell ring. That's our cage done. And now it's basically down to, I'm going to guess, all of these clues to try and figure out what is going on. And these as well. That's how we're going to crack it, and the arrows. So let's do the obvious one. This is not 4 with a 2 or an 8. It can only be a 3, 6. It's also not the most useful one. So what else do we have? These are not 1s. These are not 2s. If this is a 2, it would be joined with a 4, which is not available. So that's not 2. This is now from 3 and 8. We're making progress. That's 1 and 2. That's got to be a 4. That's a 3. This is a 1, 2 pair now. These are not 4s. So the 3 would go with, it's not a 1, a 5. And the 8 can only go with a 7. It's not going to go with a 10. So this is 5 or 7. Seven, 8, sorry, excuse me, 6. Actually, we can do some simple Sudoku to tell us that there is a set of 6 in here with 5, 7, and 9s. We've got so essentially 5, 7, 9s plus a missing digit. In this case, it's the 8s, which is in here. And again, 5, 7, 9s, because all of these were around black crop key dots. So yeah, there is essentially in each of these 5, 7, 9s plus a 4th digit, which I should be able to place. So there is a set of 1s in here, yeah. And then what am I missing in here? 3s, which can't be in there, it's there. Okay. I mean, I can do a bit of corner pencil marking, for example, with these 1s. I can probably do it with 4s. No. I'm not going to corner pencil mark. Oh, well, I can. That's a 4 in here as well. But I'm not going to corner pencil mark anything that's sort of more than 2 spaces. That's 4 spaces for the 2. I'm not going to do that. And then the 6s and 3s, I don't have enough of them around because they're mainly in the corners. Yeah, so I'm skipping the 3s and 6s. That's the 3s. That's only 4 spaces. I'm skipping the 6. That's again 4 spaces. No, that's not the way to make progress here. Actually, here is a thought. So I'm taking a look at the 2s. So white crop key dots, normally you have an odd and an even digit. But today, because there's a difference of 2, they're the same parity. Now take a look at column 2 for a second. I've got 2 evens, and I've got at a minimum another even digit in here. At a minimum, because I've got a 1. But actually, saying that, where would I put the 4th even digit if it's not in these cages? I can't put it in here because I've got 2, 4, 6, and 8 looking at it. And I've got 2, 4, and 8. And I can't put a 6 in here because I said the 6s have to be there. So these are actually all even. No 1s in here. And now I have a run of odd digits. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. This is not a 1 or 3. This is 5, 7, or 9. This is not a 1. It can be a 3, actually. Very interesting. I said, yeah, what I said is I have a digit plus a set of 5, 7, 9. So maybe what I should do for my sanity is just fill in all of these 5, 7, 9s. So now I've got all of these. What I definitely have is a 1, 3 somewhere. It's either this one, that's not a 1, and therefore this is not a 3. So it's either 1, 3 this way, 1, 3, plus either a 5, 7 or a 7, 9. So that's not a 7, because one of these has to be a 7 joining either the 5 or the 9. And then now that I've said that all of these are evens, where's the 2? This has to be here. Whereas the 4, this now has to be there. It's not as helpful as I was hoping, though. And then in here, well, I know that there is definitely a 1 there. Oh, it's not enough. So 2, no. Maybe I need to use this set. We've got a run of them again here. Maybe. Except it's not quite as tidy as the previous one, because we don't have as many even digits or as many odd digits. So the 1 is neither of these because we don't have the 3 available. So there's definitely a 1 in one of these. We knew that anyway. And there's a 1 in one in the other one. No 1s here. No 3s here. No 2 either because 4 is not available. So if there's no 2 in here, that's a 2. That's a 1. No 4. So we've got 5 with a 7, or 5 or 7 with a 9, and then one more set which is 6 and 8. And the only 6 and 8 that's possible is this one. And this is 5, 7, or 9, and this has to be now the 1. We've got 6 and 8 looking in there, and that's the 5, 7, 9. We've got one more of those with a 3 and 5. No, a 3 and a 2. And then a third 5, 7, 9. What about here? Well, 3 is not available, so this is another 5, 7, 9. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Where does the 8 go? It's not in there. It can only be in here. Then I have a 6 or a 5, 7, 9, and unfortunately can't eliminate either option just yet. It'd be really helpful if I can. I'll take a look at this. Look at that. Where can I put an 8? It's never down here. This was there for a while. I'm sure some of you have been screaming your heads off saying, Sleuth, just pay a bit of attention. There we go. These are not 8s. This 3 tells us this is the 8. These are not 5s anymore. That's the 5. That's not a 5 either. These have to include a 7 to join either the 5 or the 9, so that's not a 7. These are not 5s. Doesn't exactly eliminate this 5, unfortunately. So there's a 5 in here for sure. We also need 4 and 6, I can see. And another 5, 7, 9. You see, I keep coming back to this one because it's essentially like I've been given all the information I need to resolve this pretty much, haven't I? I'm not sure what external clue is going to help me fix it. So I'm probably going to have to sort of take a look at this a bit deeper and maybe now. Yeah, now. Right, so this is 4. This would be 6. This would be 8. So this is 4, 8, and this would be 6. This will be 8. That's fine. If this is 6, that's 8. That's 6. That's 8. That's 4. That all looks also fine. And no, I was going to say there's definitely a 2, but yeah, I knew that. Three, goodness. I did have external information waiting. That's the 8. That's the 6. Ignore the many things that I've been blind to. 4, 4. That's not a 1. That's a 1. That's another 5, 7, 9. That's another 5, 7, 9. We've got one more of these with... Actually, 2 more of these in here. With one of them definitely being a 5. So that's not a 5. That's 7, 9 pair looking at this. That's got to be it. That's the 9. That's the 7. Fantastic. We now know that this is... None of these have a 9. But more importantly, it's a 5, 7 or 3, 1 setup. And it means that there's a 9 in here and a 9 there. Actually, we know that this is the 9. That's the 7. This is 2, 3, 9 now. Except that's not a 2, that's not a 3. This could be anything. And this is 5, 7 pair. And I don't know too much about these just yet. So this is not 7. This is a 3, 5 pair. Have I got anything to disambiguate it? Surely I do. So this is either 3, 1 or 5, 7. It's not 3, 5 here. This is 1 or 7. This is 1, 3 or 5, 7. That all looks correct to me. Except, given this is not a 5 anymore. No. I was just going to say something very wrong, that this definitely has to be the 5-7 pair, but that's not true. Right, last thing that I've been putting off is this box 5, which I imagine is what's going to help us solve all of this. So this is 4-6 with a 7-9. That's not the 6. Well, that's not the 4 either. And that's not the 6, but that's not enough. Right, time to look in here. What do we know? So, because 8's not available, take a look at where 6 is. Because of these 6's. 6 is in here. So if there is a 4, well, okay, obvious things first. The 1 needs a 3, which is not available because of the row. That's a 1. This now has no even digits. Can't be 6's, can't be 8's, can't be 4's. This has to be an odd setup. And it's essentially from 5, 7, and 9, because 1 and 3 are not available. We now have a triplet of 5, 7, 9. So that's got to be the 1, the 3, the 5. And this is now a 5, 7 pair. To finish this off, I need 3, 9, and 2. 2, 3, 9 again. That's not 3, that's not 2. That's it for now. Oh, actually, we've got the triplet. That's the 2. This is the only place 8 and 6 can go in the row, isn't it? 8 can't go in here, and 6 can't be... I mean, 6 can be here, but 8 can't go here. So that's 6. That's 8. That's not a 6. That's not the 8. I mean, that was there for a while because the 8 was looking at it. It is what it is. This can still be a 4-2. It's almost very likely the case. 2's, 2's. 2 belongs on here. Therefore, it's a 2 with a 4. That's not a 4. That's not a 4 either. That's the 4. This is from 7 and 9. Got a triplet again of 5, 7, 9's. That's the 3. That's the 9. This is a known digit, which is a 6. I've got one more 5, 7, 9 with a 3. That's the 3. That's the 5, 7. Meaning there's a 9 in here. 9 can only be joined with a 5, with a 7. So that's the 5 and the 7. And I think that's it. We've basically solved this now. 7, 9. So we basically solved this. Let's just not celebrate too early, just in case I've made an error somewhere. It's a 5, 7 pair. That's not 9. I've got a 7 looking at these. That's a 5. That's a 7. That's the 5. 7, 5, 7, 9, 7, 9, 5. 7 looking down here, that's the 9, and if I've not made any mistakes, that's the solution for today's puzzle. Fantastic. It's another, I mean, phenomenal willpower puzzle. I'm not sure, I mean, if you are familiar with Fist MFL rings, I'm not sure it's a 28-minute solve. I think I was blind quite regularly to fairly obvious Sudoku things, and then I was just hunting around for the obvious solves. But ignoring that bit, what a puzzle. I mean, it shouldn't surprise us. Will has been treating us to incredible puzzles for a while now, and I'm really glad I took a look at this one. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and see you back for the next one. Bye for now.